If you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how? Everybody's choking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, loud. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes rabbit. He choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter, he's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stagnant, he knows when he goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go back to this moment and hope it don't pass him.
Listen, we can talk about the flag, but let's talk about the team. Wait.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media, live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, retweet, share, hit that subscribe button, hit every button you can find. Let's continue to spread the word here as we talk who is to blame for the Sixers' Game 1 loss. And you know what? I don't care if you want to talk about it or not. We're going to talk about it anyway. I'm just quoting Doc Rivers and his comments after the game last night that he does not care whether we want DeAndre Jordan out there or not. He doesn't care, so I don't care. If Doc Rivers doesn't care, I don't care. Plain and simple. I'm Phil Stiefel at Beard of Knowledge on Twitter. Make sure you shoot me a follow. My main man, Jason Voorhees at Mustaine3651. Good morning, Jason. And do you care? Because if Doc doesn't care, why should I care? Should you care?
I can't wait till Doc Rivers is gone. I got to be honest with you, dude. I can't stand the guy.
Is there a coach that does not have a pulse of the city that he works in as much as Doc? I mean, literally, we've seen it all year long, the way he's been short and snippy with the media. He doesn't like to be questioned. And yes, I know he's been voted one of the top 10 coaches or whatever it is.
I don't care what he's been voted.
I don't care. You don't. You can, and if he really truly believes that DeAndre Jordan's the right play, just answer the question differently. I don't need to hear him saying, I'm going to do it whether you like it or not. I don't care what you think. Dude, the guy, I mean, I've got so much to complain about.
He's an arrogant, smug prick.
He is.
That's exactly what he is, an arrogant, smug prick. He treats the media members like they're like real. He's a real asshole to media. And I get it. There's some media guys that can be annoying as hell. Let's face it. But listen, at the end of the day, they have a job to do just like him. And their job is to ask tough questions. Listen, people hate Howard Eskin, but Howard Eskin asked him, why was Embiid in there? And the guy gets all uptight about it. Well, you made a mistake, pal. Yeah. Admit your mistakes. And you know what? You will be loved in this town.
Yeah. Look at Alec Bone.
Run from your mistakes. Yeah. Run from your mistakes and make excuses. And this is how you get two angry guys like me and you, pissed off, ready to go to, toe-to-toe.
Look, I mean, I could say, like, look at Alec Boehm. Alec Boehm said, I effing hate this place. And instead of lying, saying, no, you misread my lips, he said, yeah, I said it. My bad. You know, Doc Rivers, literally, he's only a part of the issue last night. But I didn't even stay up for the post-game presser, so I didn't see his comments till this morning. And literally, I had all this stuff preset to talk about. But all I want is to, look, I'd rather just fire Doc Rivers right now after Game 1 and literally mail it in and go with an assistant coach for the rest of it. Seriously, Doc is coaching for his job. Well, he's doing a bad damn job of it, Drew. He is not doing a good job coaching if that's what he's trying to do. I mean, I don't know where to start.
You're at a loss for words. I mean, that's exactly how bad this situation is.
Let's come back to Doc. Sixers lost last night 106-92, but it wasn't as close as the score. The actual I actually thought for a minute there when he emptied his bench with like 3.5 minutes left that the bench guys were going to make a little run. They closed until like 11 or 12 at one point. What is your initial takeaway from last night's game?
Well, my initial takeaway is it's disappointment, and I'm annoyed because the fact of the matter is that they were up 51-50 at the half. So that to me right there shows me that they were in this game. They had an ability to win the game. They were up at half, and they just let it slip away. And that I mean, I most of all blame Doc, but I'm going to blame the players as well because they had a god awful game as far as shooting goes. The shooting was horrible. None of the shots were going in.
Yeah.
It looked to me on the court that Tobias Harris was pretty much the only player that gave a shit last night. And that's another problem. Now, it's like, dude, Embiid is out. You know what you're up against. Everyone needs to come and give their A game. And why was Tobias the only one that gave his A game? It doesn't make sense to me. It's frustrating. As a Sixer fan, listen, I know I went in with a positive attitude and I said, you know what, the Sixers, I preached the underdog mentality. Remember what happened when Wentz went there. Listen, in my heart of hearts, I don't think they can win this series without Embiid. I really don't. But I expect better basketball. I expect a team that's still going to be able to compete. Listen, Embiid is, for all intents and purposes, he's on a godlike level as far as in sports. He's not God, obviously. I'm not saying that. Please don't.
Maybe. How do you know? Maybe he is. You never know.
He's one of the best players in the sport. Okay, but they have other good players, and once again, James Harden. We put a challenge out yesterday to you, Mr. Harden, my friend. What happened?
Show up.
You did not show up.
I want to slightly disagree with you for a little bit here.
And that's fine.
Because I agree with you that a lot of the players did not show up, but I think more than Harris showed up. I do think Paul Reed showed up to play. I think Tyrese Maxey showed up to play. Tyrese Maxey just shot the ball awful. I mean, he still was playing with energy. Right? But there was also people, James Harden, DeAndre Jordan, George Niang. I mean, we're going to get into him. Matisse Thybulle, I think, is just done. I mean, he shouldn't even be. Danny Green, the energy level with a lot of those players was not there. How you do not have energy and hype for a first game of a playoff series? We're in the second round of playoffs. Is beyond me. You should have. I mean, you might be tired. You might be beat up from a long season. But the energy level at the start of the game has got to be there. But I want to say it's more than Tobias Harris that did show up to play. It's just not many of them did, and some of them just had bad games, even though they were trying. Tyrese Maxey I think it was Tyrese, what was he, 1 of 6 from deep? Yeah. And his one made 3-point was pretty late in the game. Tyrese Maxey did show up to play. He just played poorly.
Well, I guess what I was trying to say, and maybe I said it wrong, was that for the most part, that's how it appeared to me.
Harris was the only one that had a good game.
I didn't really and maybe that's because like I said, Phil, you're more of a basketball purist than I am, and you kind of know the game more than I do. So maybe you focus in on more of the little things, and maybe I don't see that. But what I'm saying is, as a whole unit, I did not see an energy level that needed to be there as a combined unit.
I don't even know how to properly describe this, but there was at least one of the big stories, and it's been a story this entire season, this entire playoffs, is the fact that we give up too many offensive rebounds. Offensive rebounds, stopping an opponent from getting an offensive rebound, or even getting them when you're on offense. Offensive rebounds or preventing them, it's energy, hustle, and effort. That's all that rebounding is. Okay, there's some skill, blocking out properly, reading the angles of the ball. There is some skill to it, but 99% of rebounding is hustle, effort, and skill, or hustle, effort, and will. There was at least a dozen times last night, and I'm going to zone in on DeAndre Jordan and George Niang for this part of it, where you can watch, if you go back and watch the game and watch some of those offensive rebounds, second and third, sometimes you're giving up 3 offensive rebounds in one possession. It was like they were playing in slow motion, Jordan and Niang. Like, you see the ball come off the rim. They watch it come off the rim, watch it hit the floor. They watch the Heat get the rebound, and then they reach for the ball. It's like the game was moving at a different speed than they were. And it was like, I literally saw DeAndre Jordan multiple times go, oh, I got to grab for that. Oh, okay. And that's just no heart, no fight. That's just embarrassing. It really is. And we can all say that, Paul Reed should be starting. And you know what? To an extent, I do want to say I agree with Doc that Paul Reed probably shouldn't start. And the reason is because Doc Rivers screwed up by not giving him more minutes in the regular season. So he might not be fully ready. I mean, he played 17 minutes last night and committed 5 fouls. And that's basically what Paul Reed does. But the problem is Doc Reed failed Paul Reed. I can't get these names right. Doc Rivers failed Paul Reed.
Doc Reed.
Paul Rivers. I don't know. I'm pissed off.
Doc Reed. It sounds like a singer or something.
Yeah, it does sound like a lead singer of like a 70s rock band or something like that. Doc Rivers failed Paul Reed by not giving him more minutes in the regular season, where he could, if he would have played a little bit more this year, some of the stupid fouls he makes might not be happening now. So you'd be able to play him more than 17 minutes. If you start Paul Reed right now, you're still only going to get 17 or 18 minutes out of him most nights because, I mean, if you go back to his box score, the last 10 games Paul Reed played, he's in foul trouble every single time because he hasn't learned how to not bite on certain pump fakes. There was a foul that he bit early in the game on Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler drove to the lane. He did a pump fake, and it wasn't Jimmy Butler. I love Jimmy Butler. I still have my Jimmy Butler Sixers jersey. I still wear my Jimmy Butler Sixers jersey. But Jimmy Butler's slower. He's got a bad knee. And he's still, I mean, the pump fake, I might not have fallen for that pump fake because it was like in slow motion. Paul Reed fell for that pump fake. And that's just inexperience. So while I want Paul Reed out there, I understand why he's not getting put out there because you just can't. But that's still on Doc Rivers. That is still on the coaching staff of this team. You didn't need to go out and sign DeAndre Jordan. Paul Reed should have been the guy from the time we got rid of Andre Drummond.
I have a thought.
All right.
Well, I saw you had a tweet at one point in the game. I believe it was late in the third quarter. Maybe it was even the fourth quarter, where you tweeted out the Heat's bench is outscoring the Sixers bench 51 to like 9. It was some like unbelievable amount of number. Okay. So you know what that tells me? There's also someone else to blame here. And that is Mr. Morey.
Absolutely.
And you were pounding that drum. You were pounding that drum a lot when after the Harden trade, and a lot of people gave you a lot of flack for that. And I think this is the exact reason why you were pointing to that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that a bench. Not that a bench.
You'd be surprised. I actually think there's enough positive last night that I still am on board that as long as Joel Embiid comes back in Game 3, we can still win the series. I still really, realistically believe that. I did not see the Miami Heat last night be this ultra dominant team. If the Miami Heat beat us in the series, they're not getting past the Celtics or the Bucks. There's no way. This Heat team is good, but they're not great. But yes, the bench is an issue. But the bench is an issue because also the way it's used. When you take Joel Embiid out of the equation, that's 38 minutes. That's your leading scorer. So DeAndre Jordan, Paul Reed, whoever has to start. And then if one guy on your offense is struggling, like say Tyrese Maxey scoring, then you're trying to find different things. You throw Furkan out there. I mean, 11 different guys saw minutes last night.
Well, I think that's why you can look at the James Harden trade now, looking back in hindsight. And I know at the time we were all like, okay, well, obviously I'm glad, no matter what, I'm glad we didn't include Maxey.
Right.
But wouldn't you have, at this point in time, wouldn't it have been better to have included Matisse as opposed to Drummond? Oh, yeah. And I'm looking back. If you have Drummond in this series, if you have Drummond, Andre Drummond, the backup center,
right,
who can actually play center in this series, could you possibly have a better shot at winning right now, even without Embiid? I believe so.
I agree. So the way I look at it, though, I think Seth Curry was because the Nets didn't want Matisse because of the vaccination situation.
Okay.
I really firmly believe it was going to be Drummond and Matisse, and we'd still have Seth Curry if the vax thing wasn't a part of it. I think Drummond was one of the key pieces because I know Andre Drummond didn't play much towards he was starting for the Nets, but I don't think he fit in as well as they thought. But they thought they needed that big guy in case they faced the Sixers in the playoffs. For when they faced the Bucks in the play, they thought they needed that big center. I think he was actually a lot more important to the Nets in that trade than that's discussed. I think he was Ben Simmons and Andre Drummond, and the third piece was going to be whatever.
It just sucks in hindsight.
But I agree with you. But I said it when they signed DeAndre Jordan. There was no need to sign DeAndre Jordan. That there's a reason why he wasn't getting minutes on any other team for the last 2 years because he was washed, and that's fine. And DeAndre Jordan was. People were saying, well, he's close with James Harden. He's played with James. Look, whatever. Like, I'm not trying to be all negative. I think there was positives to take from the game. I really do. But even if Joel Embiid came back tomorrow night, which he's not going to, he's already been ruled out for game 2. If you put that kind of effort, Miami Heat are different than the Raptors, but they're similar in the sense where they are a hustle and energy team. They're not the most talented team in the NBA, but they play good team basketball, and they fight, and they hustle, and they have heart. James Harden needs more heart. DeAndre Jordan, if DeAndre Jordan's going to be out there, the dude better look in the mirror and say, I better find the fountain of youth for 1 or 2 more games because I'm going to be played. It's an embarrassing look for him. He needs to find some heart. George Niang is like Furkan Korkmaz. I always say throw Furkan out there for 2 minutes. If he makes some shots, good, roll with Furkan. If he's not making the shots, then you don't roll with Furkan. But George Niang, you kind of have no point. If Joel Embiid, you have no reason you have to play George Niang. He was playing the center. He was out there with Tobias Harris as a small, just like I said, a small lineup like I said they should do. You saw that. But when his shot isn't falling like it was last night, 0 for 7 he was last night. He is such a liability because that is the one thing he excels at is his shot. And if you notice, a lot of his shots last night were coming up short, hitting the front of the rim. What does that mean? It means he doesn't have his legs, which means he's tired. Which goes back to what I was preaching all season long. Why was George Niang playing 25, 30 minutes a game when he should have been playing 15 to 20 minutes a game? Now you're at the end of the season. George Niang might not have any legs left.
Dude, that might have been the worst game I've ever seen him play. 0 for 7?
Yeah, he had a couple 0 for 9s earlier in this season, too. Yeah,
These guys are
atrocious. And again, I don't want to harp all on the negative. We're going to get to the positives here in a minute. But James Harden, man.
James Harden was not a positive. And that is disappointing.
He actually looked like early in the game that he was going to be a positive. He knocked down some shots. He got to the rim. Then all of a sudden, after he played about 10 or 12 minutes of game action, it's like is James Harden a 12-minute guy now? Can he not play 35 minutes in a game?
Dude,
does he burn out that quickly?
Now, last night was the perfect time for like, if there was ever a time where he was going to shine, we needed it last night, and he didn't. And listen, I give credit when credit's due. James Harden, you came up small, and it's very, very disappointing as a Sixers fan because we all had high hopes. And listen, I know I've been trying to be positive about it and say, well, maybe James Harden still has something left in the tank. But dude, it's starting to become increasingly clear he is not what we thought we were getting. And that's a problem.
I still make that trade 100 times.
I would too, but I'm not saying. I'm just saying, as a Sixers fan, the amount of hype that we had when we got Harden, it's almost like it's for naught because it's like, what's the difference? What if we don't make that trade? Are we in any better of a position right now without Embiid? That's a good question because if Simmons isn't playing, and I don't know
if we're still if the trade never happened and Embiid still gets hurt and is out.
Yeah,
we're running a lineup of Andre Drummond, Seth Curry, Tyrese Maxey.
Are we really in any better position?
Any better? No. Any worse? No. Maybe. I don't know. Look, it's bad, but it's why I was pounding the drum to make ancillary moves. Why I was doing it. Daryl Morey has been so dead set to have James Harden at his hip for the last 37 years that he doesn't know how to do anything else other than trade for James Harden.
My God. I can't believe we're at this.
We're still there. And, one more negative I want to harp on from last night. And we've harped on it 1,000 times. It brings it back to the Doc Rivers thing and his rotations. Dude, there was a point in the third quarter where we were making a run, and we were trying to close the gap again. And he had Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey out there with Furkan Korkmaz, Matisse Thybulle, and Paul Reed. You basically had two of your starters out there with Paul Reed, who has no offensive game. I love Paul Reed's energy, but the guy has no offensive game. Again, that's Doc Rivers' fault for not developing him better. Matisse Thybulle, who I don't even know why he's in the rotation anymore. At this point, he literally provides he's not even playing well on defense anymore. And Furkan Korkmaz, who hasn't played meaningful minutes in 8 weeks. Of course, we went from being down like 5 or 6 to being down like 20 in the course of like 3 minutes, it felt like, with that lineup out there.
And that's
Doc Rivers.
That's hence the problem. Because I'm looking at it. I remember earlier in the playoffs, Harden, Maxey, and Embiid had 45 minutes apiece almost. Yes. Last night, the most minutes was Maxey at 34. Oh, Harris, 36.
I mean,
there's a problem there. You need to play.
If it wasn't empty the bench with.
Okay, when you don't have a good bench, it's not a good idea. You need to play your starters to the T as much as you can go, as long as there's not foul trouble. Dude,
Danny Green should have played more. Danny Green,
Harden, Maxey should have been over 40 minutes in that game. It's unacceptable, Phil. You don't have a bench, and exactly happened what I expected. When you put that bench in there, that's when you lose all that ground and you can't get it back. You were down big in the first quarter and you were able to do it. You were able to come back because you were only down by 9. Once you hit a certain threshold,
once the domino, it's the quicksand effect. When you start sinking, you start struggling, and you sink faster. Look, let's talk positives for a few minutes.
There was a positive.
Can we sign Tobias Harris to a max contract? Oh, that's right. He already has a max contract. Yo, if I knew how to keep receipts, if I wasn't so lazy and I saved receipts, I'd be pulling all the receipts out for all those Tobias bashers right now. Tobias Harris came to play last night. He looked efficient. He looked like he knew what he was. He was the only one with legs under him. Made his shots, got to his spot on the court. Tobias Harris, man. Tobias Harris played
Tobias Harris looked like he wants. Tobias Harris played like he wants to win an NBA championship.
He does.
Where the hell were the rest of the guys?
That's another whole subject.
I mean, that's my question. Like,
I don't have an answer.
It's frustrating. Like, it's almost like this team is built with the mentality that, well, if Joel Embiid's here, we have a shot. But if Joel Embiid isn't playing, then it's like a hope and a prayer. Like, that's basically their mentality. And that's sad. That's sad if that's their mentality. And that just shows you how bad of a coach. Everyone wants to rave how good of a coach Doc Rivers is. A good coach would not have this team like that. Would Nick Nurse have had this team up ready to play better last night?
Nick Nurse, better coach than Doc Rivers.
Spoelstra across the room.
Better coach than Doc Rivers. We can go to the other series. Budenholzer, the Bucks coach, better coach than Doc Rivers. Look, we're also, we're talking about, I mean, let's be honest, though. Tyrese Maxey's not going to shoot 1 of 6 from 3. George Niang's not going to shoot 0 of 7 from deep. Again. So, is there a glimmer with the way Tobias Harris played and the fact that we obviously have to be a better shooter than this, in the next game? Can you foresee us winning game 2 if we just make a few shots? I was getting there. I was getting to it. Are you there?
True. It's spot on. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just annoyed. I'm annoyed. And it's hard to focus on any positive for me, Phil, because, like I said, I've been the one saying be patient. I've been preaching patience. I've been preaching positivity with this team. But I need James Harden to show up, and he showed up for 2 minutes last night. Like you said, the beginning of the game, I was actually like, wow.
I mean, he had 12 points at the half. He was second on the team in scoring at that point. The problem is the second half he just didn't have anything left in the tank.
Yeah,
Look, I've tried to say it. I know I said a couple times, we're gonna see one old school Harden game, but I've said it for a while now. Harden is who he is. Don't expect Harden to take over a game. It's just not who he is. What we need is Tyrese Maxey to not shoot 1 of 6. We need George Niang to shoot. That's the way we stay in the game. And if they were 1 of 13 on most given nights, at worst, there are 5 of those 13, maybe 6 of those 13. Now all of a sudden you're looking at a 2-point game coming down to crunch time. And our team at crunch time, I'll take over their team at crunch time. And let's be honest, Tyler Hero made like 2 super deep. Dude, they just had everything going their way. I'm not giving up on this series. I think there's enough positives in that game, even with all the negatives. We spent 20 of the first 25 minutes talking negatives versus the positives, but I still think you could pull tea leaves out of that game and be like, it's not going to be that bad again. And even despite Doc Rivers and despite DeAndre Jordan, we could keep it close in game 2, and come crunch time, you pull out a win. I still think it's possible to take a win in game 2 without Joel Embiid.
I mean, I think it's possible. Anything's possible, Phil. I mean, if Tyrese Maxey has a 30-point game,
exactly,
we're talking a different story. If Harden has even 25 points, like, he doesn't need a 30-point game, but you need these guys to make their shots. You can't have George Niang going 0-7.
Another one. The one key point here: just ISO ball. That's all. There is no offense right now. And you know what? Even with Joel Embiid in the lineup, I think there's a little too much ISO ball, not enough movement. But that's not who the team is. The Sixers just don't. I mean, outside of Tyrese Maxey, no one really on the team, and Tobias Harris to an extent, nobody on the team gets out and runs. Rebound, they push up the court, and then they stop at the 3-point line and wait till everybody else gets there. I don't know that. I don't think that's going to change at this point, but you can get easy buckets. You can cut. I don't think I saw James Harden once last night make a pass to a cutter to the basket. I mean, I saw a few times when he had it, but he didn't make the. I think he only had like 5 or 6 assists last night. James Harden. It was 5 assists last night. That's just everybody standing around waiting for somebody else to do something. That's what it is. Unfortunately, when everybody stands around, then you got to play ISO ball, and when your shot's not falling, you're going to fall behind. But I agree with Mark right here saying this. A few rebounds and a few threes. The threes, I believe, will fall. It's the rebounds that scare me, because rebounds are effort. Rebounds are want and desire and fight and grit, and they just didn't have it on the rebounding. I mean, you cannot. At one point, they were down 13-4 in the offensive rebounding category. You cannot give up 13 offensive rebounds in an entire game, let alone in half the game. It's just pathetic. Pathetic. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm trying to pull it up real quick here. Let's see what the line is for Wednesday night. It hasn't come. All right. So we were 7.5-point underdogs last night. We're now 8.5-point underdogs on Wednesday night. I even think the line tells me, you get blown out and you play as pathetically as you did in game 1. You would think that line would jump to 10.5, knowing Joel Embiid's not there. It only jumped a point. I still will go to bat thinking that the Sixers have a legit shot. They just knocked down their shots in game 2. That's it.
If
If they don't.
What makes you have faith that they will? That's where I'm asking you the
Yeah,
question.
because George Niang's better than 0 for 7. You said it. You don't think you ever saw it. I saw one 0 for 9 game earlier this year.
He's better than 0 for 7, but is he all of a sudden going to be a world beater and hit 7 of 7? I don't think so.
If he hits 3 of 7, we might win that game. Tyrese Maxey shot 41% from 3 this year. He was 1 of 6. If George Niang makes 3 of 7 and Tyrese Maxey makes 3 of 6, we win the game.
Is there a way? Here's my question. Is there a way for the Sixers to possibly switch this up and not play? Sixers have a certain system that they run. Right. Is there a way that they could, like, if Doc Rivers was a smart coach or he was not so stubborn, could he possibly have this team play a different system? Or is that too hard to do in a little amount of time?
Yeah, you're not going to change. They're not going to change who they are like that. I mean,
like, I'm just saying adapt to not having Embiid. Like, obviously, you know that you're missing 10 to 12 rebounds a game right off the bat.
The problem is Doc Rivers is too stubborn of a coach. Doc Rivers is kind of like Joe Girardi. He goes with veterans. He thinks he's kind of like Howie Roseman used to be. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. He's going to do what he wants and what he needs to do, and he doesn't care. So, yeah, I said that already, Scott. Hero shot the laces off, absolutely. And that's a great point, too. It makes it even easier. Tobias had a great game. The other guys are making shots. Tobias' game is even better. Look,
so the major lack of shooting around the whole team is the reason why you're looking at game 2 as being a shot at winning, because of the fact that I got that.
You're not going to shoot that poorly.
Fair enough.
You're not going to shoot. Hold on. I closed it out already. They shot like 20% from 3 last night. Maybe even less than that. Maybe it was like 18%. Let me bring it back up here real quick. They shot 17.6% from deep last night. They're not going to shoot 17% from 3 again. And that's the difference in the game. It 100%. Yo, can we talk about one other thing about last night's game before we move on? How embarrassing is it for the city of Miami that it's tip-off of game 1 of the second round of the playoffs, and that stadium was half empty?
Yeah, that's very embarrassing.
Half empty.
What does that tell you about their city?
I mean, and it wasn't like, some people came, purposely late, whatever.
We're all out partying, Phil.
Exactly. But even midway through the game,
they don't give a shit about sports.
These seats everywhere. Dude, that was embarrassing. There's no way in a city like Philadelphia that you would see empty seats.
They don't care about sports there. They care about partying.
Melissa wants to go to game 5.
Strip clubs.
Melissa was like, yo, these seats are empty. Maybe we can get cheap seats on StubHub. So she's like, she looked it up. She found super cheap flights Tuesday. Get down there for the Tuesday game 5. Fly home Wednesday. She found cheap seats or cheap air tickets, cheap hotel room. But still, she's like, oh, let's see what all those empty courtside seats. Maybe we can find some cheap seats like on StubHub. Courtside seats, even though no one's sitting in them, still $35,000 on Grubhub or on StubHub.
Wait, $35,000?
A ticket for courtside seats to the Miami game 5.
Holy crap, dude! For
game 5. For game 5.
Wait, did you say that right? Not 3,500. 35,000?
0.
Dude, that is absolutely ridiculous. That's fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's courtside or not. Dude, it better be the freaking.
It was like 120 120 for the upper deck.
Is it gold-plated seats? I mean, what the freak?
No wonder no one's going.
Oh my mind! Exactly. Well, come on. Who has $35,000? Oh, I'm sorry. That's it. Yeah.
Melissa's like sitting there all hyped up. She's like, "Oh, look, man, I found some. We can fly in early Tuesday morning, walk around South Beach, go
all
to the game."
Excited, like
she's
ready
like,
to pull the trigger.
Hotel a half a mile from the stadium, like $80 for like beachfront view. And then she's like, we go to the game, then we fly home Wednesday. And I'm like, no, we can't spend that money. It's too much, whatever. And she's like, well, let me see what the tickets cost. And she's like, oh, $150. Let's see what those empty courtside seats cost. $35,000.
Dude, that is insane.
Oh, man. We're not talking the NBA Finals or the Super Bowl here. We're talking round 2, game 5. That's if necessary.
In an empty stadium.
I don't know. I don't know. All right. I do want to talk one more thing basketball real quick. Okay. And we'll move on here. We'll talk more Sixers as the week goes on here. Obviously, I'll preview tomorrow's game tomorrow morning. But, man, I don't know what the Met Gala is. I know it's a fashion thing, but I know nothing about it. Okay. But what is it with the dress code? And there's a lot of people dressed really oddly. Maybe I don't understand fashion, but I'll compliment Mark on this. He sent it into the group chat, and I went out and found the tweet. This was Russell Wilson at the Met Gala last night.
Who?
What the hell outfit is this?
Russell Westbrook?
Russell Westbrook. What did I say? Russell Wilson? Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
I'm off on my names and words today. I'm stumbling really bad this morning. My
Dude,
apologies.
what in the hell is that?
What is that? Isn't this supposed to be like some fashion thing?
It looks like he's wearing like a kilt.
What's funny is I actually started Google searching Met Gala to try to find the exact tweet that this was posted in. And I saw 3 or 4 guys dressed like this. One of the Kardashians, who isn't she dating like a singer or I don't know who she's got as a boy right now. He was dressed similar to this. What is with people dressing like this?
I'm sorry. I agree. I'm not in the
I'm not a fashion. Look, I wear jeans and a t-shirt every day. But dude, I can put on a nice suit. I know what a nice suit looks like. This is not a nice suit. What in God's name is this?
It looks like a kilt.
It does.
Like
it's a skirt. Yeah, but dude, maybe I'm missing something, man. Maybe I'm missing something here because I just don't see it. I saw Damian Lillard, my man, Dame Time. He tweeted out last night. All he said was, "If this is what men dress like at the Met Gala, that he thinks." Dame Lillard's always looking pretty snappy.
Dame Lillard said it?
Like this. Dame Lillard.
He called him out?
Called out all the guys for the way they were dressing
That's
at the Met
funny.
Gala. Dude, it's embarrassing. All right, that's enough of that crap. Get that. I'm going to get sick looking at that right there.
Yeah.
No way I can. I don't even want to see it. I don't want to see it. Maybe I'm missing something. I must be missing something with the.
We're not fashion experts.
I mean, this is my fashion right here. Pizza shop T-shirts every single day.
We are pizza.
Yeah, that's right. We are pizza. That's right. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's move off of basketball for a few minutes here. All right, Phillies. Let's transition to Phillies. We go from one stubborn ass head coach to a stubborn ass manager. The Phillies. They got the Texas Rangers. 2-game short home series against one of the worst teams in baseball. They're 8-14. They've actually won their last 2 games. So they were 6-14. Now they're 8-14. Do the Phillies need to win both these games? Absolutely need to win both these games.
Yes, but I don't think it matters. I think Mark hit it on the nose yesterday. They'll win the next 2 against one of the worst teams in baseball. And then they'll shit the bed once again against the Mets. That's just how the Phillies are right now. They're so inconsistent, and they run as their manager runs. He's a buffoon. He doesn't read the room. He obviously doesn't have. There was a great article yesterday. I wish I had it to share it on the show. Someone wrote an article about how basically Joe Girardi failed the team and the city in that last series when, he obviously didn't have his players' backs. Remember when Schwarber got booted out? Yep. And Girardi was just basically nonchalantly like, oh, yeah, you're doing a bad job. Like, Joe Girardi, like, to me, is just – I think he's mailed it in already. I think he does not want to be here anymore. And I actually think he wants to be fired. I think it's to that point.
Well, if it's that point,
the way that he's managing right now, it just seems like he doesn't give a shit. Like,
that's true. I just wish he would just step down then. Just be like, dude, I don't got it.
Maybe he's just too proud to do that. I don't know. I don't know Joe Girardi, the person. And listen, I don't dislike Joe Girardi as a person because I don't know him as a person. He's probably one of the nicest guys in the world. Like, but a lot of times that doesn't mix with being a good coach. And I just think he's one of those managers that he lives off of the fame that he had managing those Yankees teams. And you've said it. It's now cliche. You and I could run those Yankees teams with trotting Mariano Rivera out there as your closer. I mean, Mariano Rivera was probably one of the most, like, basically when he was out there, you're winning the game. Like, that's what you had. And you had a lineup that could beat anybody. I mean, anybody could have managed those teams like that. And that's a fact. So I don't know why Joe gets such high praise as far as being this superstar manager. I mean, I've seen managers have teams way worse than those Yankees teams and win World Series. So I'm not going to give Joe a lot of credit for that. And I just think that he's in over his head. It just seems that way anyway, as far as his decision-making abilities and the way that he manages the pitching staff and the bullpen. And I get that, that's what they have, pitching coaches for and bullpen coaches and yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, the manager's still running the team. And he's just, to me, is not doing, he's doing a disservice to the players that he has. Because like I said, his lineup decisions, obviously early in the season when he was switching the lineup every day, it was a different lineup. Like, I don't know, man. Talk about a loss for words.
Have we ever had a time in Philadelphia sports in general that we've had two coaches in our city with pedigrees? Doc Rivers has a pedigree. He's got a title. Joe Girardi's got a pedigree. He's won titles. And both of them
we're unhappy with. But also we think are unhappy with the city. Both kind of won out too. Like, we've got these two great coaches, but both of them are having their worst parts of their career right now at the same time. Both of them look uninterested, disinterested. Like they just 1 foot out the door. They're already looking at their neck. Brett Brown and Doug Peterson.
Oh my God. But Doug Peterson, I think it's a different situation. I don't think right now, I would say 95% of Philly fans want Doc Rivers and Joe Girardi out of here. I don't think 95% of Eagles fans want Doug Peterson out of here. It was a lot more split. You know what I mean? I think only Doug Peterson wanted out between him and Howie Roseman. And he really didn't let it show during games.
Yeah, it's a good point. Maybe I was
that's a little more of the behind the scenes problems than, physically in game doing it. Look, so the Phillies, Texas, John Gray tonight, against we got Ranger Suarez, his fourth start. Like you said, the Rangers are bad. I was looking at it. First off, Bamboo Brad, I forgot he's over there in Texas now. Yeah, everybody's so sad we got rid of Bamboo Brad. He's hitting like 190 right now for the Texas Rangers. Just so you know. And I forgot Spencer Howard's on the Rangers too. He's got an ERA. He's pitched in 3 games, 1 start, 2 bullpen performances. He's got an ERA north of 12. So he's doing so. The former Philly connection in Texas is not doing very well, which is fine. Whatever. They do have Corey Seager, great shortstop right there. They got a few guys that can hit a little bit, but they're scoring very little. Do you have confidence that Ranger Suarez can settle down and maybe this be a type of game where he kind of starts turning a corner this season?
I mean, I don't think Ranger Suarez has pitched awful. I think, in my opinion, even the game we were at, I think he showed signs of starting to turn the corner. Like, I think Ranger Suarez is going to be fine. I think a lot of people overhyped him after last year. I don't think Ranger Suarez is anything more than a number 3 starter moving forward. And that's okay. That's fine. If you get a number 3 starter out of your system, that's freaking awesome. Phillies hardly ever do that. So I'm okay with that. But he's not an ace. He's not a superstar that I'm going to get super excited about and be like, oh my God, Ranger Suarez. Like, it's not like he throws 100 miles an hour. He's not. He is what he is. He's exactly what the Phillies have. Their pitching staff is basically built on mediocrity, other than Zach Wheeler, who, in the beginning of the season looked nothing like the Zach Wheeler that we're used to. Obviously, this last start, he kind of looked okay. Still don't like the walks, but I'm going to chalk that up to him just not having time. But I'm looking at the Phillies and where they're at as far as in the league, as far as pitching. They're 22nd. And now listen, once again, I get it. ERA is a situational stat, but they're just not where they need to be as far as a whole entire unit. And you can't say that it's an overinflated stat, but not use it in terms of where teams are. Because if you look at the top of the league, right? Dodgers, Milwaukee, San Francisco, Mets, St. Louis, Seattle, all these teams are in the top of their leagues. Well, they're also in the top of the pitching stats. So you can call it what it is and say, well, ERA is a situational stat, but at the end of the day, it has something to do with the team's success. Phillies are 22nd in pitching ERA. Where are the Phillies at right now?
Yep.
They're in the bottom tier of the teams in the league. Same thing with hitting. Now, we're hitting for average, but once again, we're still not. It's our situational hitting where we're not, hitting with runners in scoring position. Now, we have gotten better, hence why we went on some winning streaks. We had a 4-game streak that we were at one of those games, and it was against Colorado, who's one of the worst teams in baseball. Now, I will say, if you look at hitting, Colorado is actually leading the league in hitting.
Okay.
But where are they at?
I was more looking at their team stats. I didn't look at where they ranked in the league.
They actually lead the league in hitting, Colorado.
They don't lead the league in runs, though. I can tell you that much.
I can tell you right now.
So I know they have less runs scored than the Phillies.
They're 7th. They're only a run less than the Phillies. But my point is I believe that pitching still dominates. Pitching wins championships. And you've said it. You've been saying it since day one that it didn't matter how good the Phillies lineup was. If their pitching didn't improve, they're not going to compete long term. And I still agree with that. And I'll fight to the death on that. They could have the best lineup in the league. But at the end of the day, you need to be able to pitch and get these guys out. And the Phillies don't have the ability to do that.
So do you go back to the lineup, even though we're talking that we need to pitch and it doesn't matter how many runs you score, going back to the lineup, you leave the lineup. I mean, we lost 2 out of 3 of the Mets, but we swept the Rockies. We basically had the same lineup for about a week now. So I guess big picture, we're 5-2 with this Segura Hoskins 1-2. Do you just let it go? Or now that Kyle Schwarber's finally starting to hit the ball, these guys average up to 200. Do you put Schwarber back to the leadoff spot like he started the season?
Yeah, I would actually put Schwarber back in the leadoff spot, and I would move Hoskins down because Hoskins, to me, since he's been in the 2-hole, he's been not what he needs to be.
So
and I think that's
Segura.
Yeah, I would be Schwarber, Segura. I think that's your best. I think the lineup that they had day one is the lineup that they should have. Obviously, Stott isn't there now, but Boom, obviously takes a spot. But I don't think there was anything ever wrong with that lineup. The problem is like I said, Joe, in the beginning of the year, it was like every other day, it was like a different lineup. And that's just not a winning formula. And I know other people say, well, other teams do it. They change positions, but they don't necessarily change the lineup. I mean, I look around the league. I mean, maybe some other teams do, other teams don't. But I think it's driven by analytics. Like that to me is the main reason why I don't think that analytics overall are great for the game. Yes. Are there some things that are good? Yes. Absolutely. I think the game needs to progress in certain ways. But there's not enough human element anymore, and there's not enough focus on the fundamentals, the small things that actually matter. Everyone wants to see a home run or a strikeout. That's basically baseball now. And if that's fine, if that's what you enjoy watching, a 5-hour game that has 27 strikeouts and 15 walks, so be it. If you enjoy watching a no-hitter that has 13 walks in the game,
19 different pitchers in it,
I mean, that's fine. If that's what you like as a fan, I say have at it then, because I don't enjoy that. I don't. I want to see a game that's actually exciting. And that to me is not excitement.
Not at all. Not at all.
Sorry,
All right.
it's not.
So you got Phillies winning tonight?
I think they come out mashing tonight.
What's the weather? Is it supposed to be nice today?
Yeah, it's not.
I think later in this week there's supposed to be some rain in the forecast.
Looking out right now, it doesn't look like. It's not like. I can't tell.
I'm just waiting for warm weather. I want to see the Mash Brothers. When it becomes good old Charlie Manuel hitting season.
I'm gonna say
wow, that park.
I think you see Castellanos and Harper go deep tonight.
Okay, that's good.
And I'm gonna say Ranger Suarez on the mound. 7-4, Phillies win.
I was gonna go 8-4, but I can get behind 7-4. That's fine. For some reason, now I didn't have time to do it, but John Gray, he pitched for the Rockies for a long time, and he had a lot of height, but he was never really that good. He had 2 good seasons, really. Never really stayed healthy. But for some reason, in the back of my head, I remember John Gray being a pitcher that used to dominate the Phillies.
John Gray, he does. He actually has dominated. You remember that right. John Gray.
A recessed memory back there.
John Gray was actually a very big prospect for Colorado.
He's had 2 good seasons.
He's never really been able to put it together.
I looked at his career stats, and it really comes down to health with John Gray. Because you look at it, 29 starts, 20 starts, 31, 25, 8, 20. He only once pitched. If you stay healthy as a starting pitcher, you pitch somewhere between that 31 and 34 games in a season. He's only gone over 30 games one time in his career. So,
he wasn't a highly touted prospect. He was drafted. Looks like.
Anyway, I don't want to get deep dive into John Gray.
He was actually the 3rd pick of the 2013 draft. I mean, He was highly touted. That's pretty high. He's a Zach Wheeler type prospect, but he played for Colorado, dude. Yeah. Colorado, it's almost impossible to succeed as a pitcher. You'll have crazy splits, which he does. If you look at his splits, if he played outside of Colorado Stadium, his ERA is probably like 2 or 3.
Yeah. But I just had this recessed memory of him dominating the Phillies, so I do have that little bit of concern there tonight. But it's a different Phillies team, so I'm hoping that plays a factor in it. Who?
Look at his career track. It's an Aaron Nola. Good season, bad season. Good season, bad season. He's an Aaron Nola. First round pick.
Yeah, possibly.
A lot of comparisons there.
Yeah, so hopefully the Phillies can pull one out tonight. I hope so. I need something positive in my day today. After last night's Sixers game, absolutely. All right, so spoiler alert. If you don't watch the Ozarks or have not watched the Ozarks season 4, part 2, turn the podcast off now. We got 5 minutes left in the show. And me and Jason were talking last night during the Sixers game. He had just finished it up. I had watched it over the weekend. We got to spend I want to spend 5 minutes talking something non-sports here. Because I want to talk about the Ozarks and how they ended that show. And how disappointing it was. So, count it down right now. If you have not watched it and you plan on watching it, turn off the show for the last 5 minutes. Spoiler alert. It's going to ruin the end of the Ozarks. So turn this off. 3 more seconds. 2, 1. All right. You've been warned. I just did a 3-minute warning there. All right.
What if somebody fast forwards the podcast and they didn't hear that and now they?
That's their own damn fault. I gave a warning. Okay. I want to say I like the Ozarks. I think it's a great show. I watched every season of it right when it came out. We watched the entire part 2 there. Saturday night, Sunday morning. We watched it pretty much straight on through. It's a show that we've been hooked on, my wife and I, since the beginning. We were actually looking up the other day, where all these play. Can we go to the Ozarks and go on the Mississippi Belle, Airbnb the house they stayed in. The house exists and the Mississippi Belle exists, but in Georgia actually, which is kind of disappointing. But I was not happy. I actually thought season 4 was great. Even the first half of the second, the first few episodes of the second half of the season were pretty good. But the way they wrapped this show up was a very disappointing ending to a series. I don't know. Jason, I think you agree with me a little bit. I think they could have done more. You don't have to kill everybody off. You don't have to do, anything like that. But just the way it ended, I just kind of,
I got to be honest with you, Phil. For me, this is just my opinion. For somebody that actually loved the show, like, I binge watched each season when I was out on COVID. I watched like 3 seasons to get caught up. I'm extremely disappointed in the entire 4th season. Like, yes, there was a couple good episodes, I'll say, in there, and it was early in season 4. But overall, dude, this is why I tell you before that you need to watch Breaking Bad, because this Ozarks, I believed, were trending on that level. Had the show continued on the track and continued, and it was progressing to that level for me. Until I saw season 4. Dude, I am extremely disappointed, and I think they totally shit the bed on Ozarks. I'm yes, you don't have to kill everyone off, but it's the storyline, and it's also I just wasn't intrigued by the ending.
Yeah, like this is supposed to be the end. They plan on not bringing the show back. So I wanted a definitive answer and conclusion to the show. But all they did was leave it open for them to bring it back if they decide the money's worth it or if they want to do a spin-off. They purposely left the door open for more things. Look, the second half of season 4, I had some great episodes. Was it the first or the second episode where Ruth was on her vendetta to kill Javi? I mean, that was a fantastic episode. Fantastic. All the hip-hop music that was involved with it, just her going in and out of, whether she was falling asleep and dreaming or actually part of it. It was really done. She's an excellent actress. Excellent actress. And, so there were definitely the good points. But bringing in the sister, bringing in just the whole entire ending of it. I don't even know how to put it into words. Like we did my top 10 TV shows of all time, a couple weeks back. And I put the Ozarks at 10, 11, 12, like somewhere in that end of the top 10 in my honorable mentions. And I said, it depends on how they wrap the show up, how high up it goes. Unfortunately, because of the way they wrapped it up, it might not crack the top 10. It stays in that honorable mentions range. It's still a really good show. But how you can have a family like the Birds go through all they went through, and they did not have to face any heartbreak. Like the way I saw the show ending with either Wendy or Marty dying, or the kids dying, and the Birds having to live with the guilt of their lifestyles affecting their kids. And it just ended with the son shooting the detective, dude. It just...
Once again, you already said about the spoiler.
Yeah.
So the beginning, the very, very first episode of season 4, they show the Birds in the car. Yes. And the car crashes. That's how I thought it was going to have something to do with the end. Like, I actually thought that would have been actually a good way to go with the storyline. No, it didn't. They have the car accident, and then they all get out like nothing happened. And then I'm like,
you know what really pissed me off? That car crash happened at the very beginning of episode 1 of season 4. It did. They never went back to it the rest of the first half. And then after part 1 of season 4 ended, I was reading, articles from the producers and the writers. I like to do that. Get behind their thought process of why they do certain things and stuff like that. And they said you wouldn't have to wait long into the part 2 to see what happened with the car. We had to wait till like episode 5 or 6 to see the car crash. And it was just meaningless. It was just actually, I'm okay with them making it a meaningless part of it. But that was kind of like, that set it up to, they skate at death so many times. Then they get into just a random car accident. They get out of that. Well, how many lives? They're not.
Well, I actually think that would have been a better storyline to do something with that car accident, like,
Absolutely.
or listen, even the thing where remember Marty, maybe remember when they're stopped at the stoplight and everyone's honking their horn and he gets out and he's cursing at the guy and the guy calls Wendy a bitch, and then Marty kind of loses his mind and he just pummels the guy, and I thought something would happen with that, and then of course that just kind of gets brushed on it. Like it's just like
I actually thought that was setting before they started fighting. When they first pull up to the stoplight there, and there's traffic, you see Wendy or Marty looking in his rearview mirror and looking in his side view mirror. I'm like, oh shit, they're setting something. That was actually that's set up for a potentially great scene. Like they really were teasing. Like I'm thinking the car pulls up behind, someone comes out and shoots them. They trap them in. Push them in front of a moving train. Like I was thinking about a whole bunch of different things happening there.
Me too.
And they just kind of like, it was just they could have set up a character change in Marty there. He does beat the crap out of that dude. They could have easily made that be like a new arc in his character where he just goes off the deep end. But instead, And yeah, it was disappointing.
Very disappointing. And then, obviously, the main character, one of the main characters, the cartel boss. Like, I didn't understand that whole thing too at the end. Like, the mother takes over, or the sister takes over. Like, that was just stupid. Like, I would have I could have lived without that. Why not have like him get out of prison and then
they brought the sister in out of nowhere too. She wasn't a part of the show.
It was very weak, very, very, very disappointed with the way that they ended that show. And I wish I could tell. You saw what's his name tweeted out. Thank you for watching it. What's the guy's name? Marty, but the actor, Jason Bateman. I wish I could tell Jason Bateman how disappointed I am in the way that they ended that show.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll tweet it at him that I'm very disappointed. Not that I'll care.
Well, maybe he will care. You never know.
It was
maybe he'll come on Trending in the AM and discuss it with us.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, disappointing, but it is what it is. Now, I think now it's time for me to cancel Netflix because that was the last show I was holding on the hope for on Netflix. So
no, you need to watch Breaking Bad.
I don't have time to binge watch a show like that.
I'm telling you, you will.
Dude, I work 700 hours a week.
You will change your life watching Breaking Bad.
Yeah, it will change my life. I'll become obsessed. Trend in the AM will be canceled for like 3 weeks while I binge it. I just don't. I don't have the energy to do it or the time. If it was a 1-season show, maybe, but it's got like 6 seasons.
Aaron used to tell me, Jason, I can't believe you haven't watched Breaking Bad. He said it like 100 times, and finally I gave in. I'm like, all right, I'll freaking watch it. And when I watched it, it was like I couldn't stop watching it. It was all I watched. I watched that instead of sports. That's how good it was.
I just don't have the time. Anyway, we're going to wrap up for the day here. Trending the AM, live, DSM Media, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Share it out. Retweet it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. I am Phil Stifer, your host at Bearded Knowledge. My main man, Jason Voorhees, at Mustaine3651. Sixers lose in heartbreaking fashion to an extent. Disappointing fashion. We'll be back tomorrow to preview the show, to preview tomorrow's game, recap tonight's Phillies game, and we'll see what else comes up in the agenda tomorrow morning. Everybody have a great Tuesday. What are we saying today? We can't say 6 and 5. There's literally no chance of that happening. Ring the bell, I guess. Go Birds. I don't know. Just have a great day. How about that, Jason?
I say, go Birds.